We are Shelter Status, a homeless shelter vacancy tracker for the Salt Lake Valley. Finding a homeless shelter can be very difficult for homeless individuals, as effective models of tracking and reserving vacancies are not currently available to shelters. The difficulty these individuals face often leave them sleeping on the streets. A homeless individual can use our application to find directions to the nearest homeless shelter or resource center, as well as filter and sort by their needs. Once at a homeless shelter or resource center, a homeless individual can make a reservation through a facility volunteer using our application. A homeless individual looking to find a homeless shelter to stay at for the night can open our application and select Find a Shelter. They can choose any filters that may fit their needs. Here, we're going to choose shelters that are allowing women. We may then choose any sort that fits our particular interests. Now we have a list view, which will display the number of beds, the distance, and the rating. Once we've settled on one, we can click the pin, which will open Google Maps. When a homeless individual arrives at a homeless shelter or resource center, a shelter volunteer can create a reservation at any homeless shelter by checking on the Reserve a Bed button from the admin menu. From here, the volunteer will select the desired homeless shelter. A pop-up will appear where the volunteer can select Reserve, which will bring up a reservation form that the volunteer can fill out on behalf of the homeless individual, given a name for the reservation, the number of adults, the number of kids, and optionally, a phone number. A homeless individual has 3 hours to get to their reservation. Upon arrival, a shelter volunteer can check in a homeless individual by selecting the Check-in button on the admin menu. The volunteer will select the corresponding reservation. They will then click on the Check-in button on the pop-up, which will successfully check in the homeless individual. Our mobile front-end was written in Xamarin using C#, and our web front-end was written in React. They both connect to the Google Maps API to integrate maps into the application. Both front-ends connect to our API backend we wrote in Node.js with Express as a shared controller. Our API backend interacts directly with our core database utilizing 24 endpoints so that our front-ends don't have to directly communicate with it. Our API backend also communicates with the Twilio API to allow our users without an internet connection to have the option to text a number and receive information about available beds. Our web frontend and our API backend are both hosted on an EC2 instance on AWS. Our database is hosted on Amazon RDS. We tested our backend using Insomnia before actually deploying our changes to production. Our build pipeline for the web frontend, backend, and database runs in GitLab on every pushed commit. On non-master branches, it sets up the project and checks for linting errors. When we merge it to master, it additionally builds a Docker image, SSHs into the production EC2 instance, pulls the latest Docker image, and restarts the service. When shown to potential users, we gain some insightful feedback which we implemented into our application, which includes some visual modifications, security precautions, and helpful features such as a password reset. Because the homeless population is very vulnerable, we made sure to be very careful with their data. Because of this, we do not store anything besides their name, number of adults and kids, and optionally a phone number. This data is deleted at the end of the day by our database so that we don't keep this data any longer than we need to. We also still require homeless individuals to go to a homeless shelter or resource center to make a reservation, rather than letting them do this through the app. This is because we don't want malicious users to fill up the vacancies, preventing homeless individuals from actually being able to get a bed. Currently, our application is not adopted by any shelters, as grants currently surround the usage of current databases, which are only updated twice per day. Because of this, we've decided not to deploy our Android app to the Google Play Store or our iOS app to the App Store, since we are currently not partnered with any shelters.